In Thailand dreigt een beschermde boomsoort te verdwijnen uit het tropisch regenwoud omdat gewapende criminele bendes veel geld verdienen met het illegaal omhakken en verkopen ervan aan rijke Chinezen. Er worden elk jaar honderden miljoenen US-dollars verdiend met deze illegale smokkelbusiness van Siamese rosewood dat een bloedrode kleur geeft aan het hardhout dat erg gewild is voor het maken van exclusief meubilair. De Thaise regering heeft een speciale taskforce ingesteld bestaande uit politie, leger en marine-eenheden om de illegale houtkap en smokkel te bestrijden. Welke lessen kunnen we in Suriname leren van de Thaise aanpak met zwaar bewapende rangers? Wat nemen we wel en wat niet over of passen we aan? Kijkt u naar een verslag van de Arabische satellietzender Al Jazeera.
On Thailand's border with Cambodia, a dedicated group of armed men are waging a war. These aren't soldiers, but forest rangers, trained to fight for and defend Thailand's national parks. The team's called the King of Tigers. Jog is one of them.
My home is on the edge of the forest. We are a family of farmers and we make our living from the forest. As I grew up, I saw the forest disappear bit by bit.
The rangers are up against an elusive enemy, armed poachers, desperate to get their hands on Siamese rosewood. Thailand has the last remaining supply of this species in the world. It's feeding an insatiable demand in China. Today, the stakes are higher than ever, with poachers ready to risk their lives in pursuit of this rare hardwood timber. But Thailand's National Park Service is fighting back.
Our intelligence sources informed us that the wood has been hidden in the part of the forest we're about to walk through.
Leading the team is the head of crime suppression at the Park Service, Director Gloire. He and his team have received reports that a group of poachers are trying to transport rosewood out of the forest, and they're determined to stop them.
We'll split into 3 groups and look for evidence of poachers. 4 or 5 guys at the front.
The situation for this endangered species is desperate. Once common across northeastern Thailand and Cambodia, there's now just one tiny pocket left.
This remote area is between 2 national parks called Dong Payayan, which is a World Heritage Site, and the last piece of forest that has healthy rosewood.
We join the rangers as they set off into the forest. We're skirting around the base of the mountains, trying to cut off the poachers as they exit the forest. But walking in these conditions is tough. The temperature's nearly 40 degrees and the humidity energy-sapping. Snakes, wild elephants, even tigers stalk through the forest. But the greatest threat to the rangers are the poachers hiding beneath the forest canopy.
As we are walking, our scouts will come across the poachers, then they'll open fire.
In the last 4 years, 40 rangers have been killed, dozens wounded, and 5 left permanently disabled. Park Ranger Pitak was lucky to escape with his life. Earlier this year, he was trying to arrest a group of Cambodian poachers deep in the forest. Instead of surrendering, they opened fire.
We kept firing at each other, and I got shot here. And then I took cover under the bush, while the Cambodians advanced, firing at me.
The poachers escaped in a hail of bullets, leaving Pitak scarred for life.
The rosewood is so valuable, but these days the poachers are always heavily armed.
Back on the trail, we're moving deeper into the forest. It's clear others have been here before us. We see rosewood stumps, all that remain of these majestic trees. But despite the large distances we cover, we find no signs that we're getting closer to our target. As dusk starts to fall, the rangers set up camp. been a long and disappointing day. Over breakfast the next morning, the rangers go over their strategy. The poachers seem one step ahead of them.
มันไม่มีร่องรอยที่แบบเป็นใหม่นึกป่ะมันเป็นร่องรอยเก่าคือที่ว่าไปหาจุดไม้
Director Gloire is clearly frustrated. The poachers have lookouts and pay for tip-offs about ranger patrols. Even within the ranger service, it's hard to know who they can trust.
The corruption is not about people stealing wood, but they're giving out information about where the rangers are going to be.
The rangers decide to break into a smaller group and head to a remote section of the park they've never been to before.
We have intelligence there is a big logging area there, but it will take 2 or 3 days to walk into that area.
We pile into trucks and head off, 100 kilometers to the east. The rangers are now going to try a different tactic. The last few days we've been walking in areas around the fringes of the national park. We were trying to get loggers who were coming out, transporting the rosewood out further on down the smuggling trail. We didn't find any fresh trails. So now they're making plans to go deep inside the forest. But the rangers say we have to be very careful here. We're close to Cambodia, where there is known to be a crime boss called Golden Tooth operating in this area. And his loggers are known to leave mines behind. Director Gloire will leave us here, but we're joined by local rangers who'll act as scouts. They've also spent years fighting the poachers, but even they will be heading into parts unknown.
Sep.
Locked and loaded, we set off. The terrain is more rugged here, steep slopes and thick bamboo. Not long after we enter the jungle, we hear 2 loud bangs nearby. Somebody knows we're here.
It was explosives. There are poachers in this area, signaling the other poachers that rangers are coming in.
But we're on the right route. The rangers find tracks.
นี่คือร่องรอยรถเข็นของขบวนการค้าไม้น่ะ
The shotgun shell shows that they're armed. Following the tracks, it isn't long before we come across a logging site where a rosewood tree has been felled.
This tree was about 100 years old. It was felled and cut up here. If they sell it on the open market, it will be worth about $300,000.
The rangers examine the site. The poachers can spend up to a week in some places. Using chainsaws and other machinery, they carve out planks of the finest wood for transportation, sometimes leaving offcuts for a return trip. We seem to be getting closer. One of the local rangers finds fresh tracks, 3 or 4 carts, heading in the same direction we are. Then we come across a large campsite. This was home to more than 20 poachers. There's evidence that some of the men had come from Cambodia, Khmer cigarette packets.
มีคนไทยด้วยแหละ
We also find a wheel from one of the transporters, specially reinforced for the heavy hardwood loads. The poachers are so confident they won't get caught, they haven't even tried to conceal their presence. The sheer size of the camp is a shock.
I'm speechless, but we just have to do our best. It's good to find this place. This area of the forest is very remote, and it's very hard for us to get here. It's heartbreaking.
We move on. The poachers have even built bridges to transport the wood. But there's another predator on the path ahead. These jungles are the last remaining natural habitat for many animals, dangerously close to extinction. Some have been scared off or killed by poachers. Just a few hours ago, a tiger crossed this track.
ยังไม่ไปแค่ตอนเช้านี่แหละดูรอยขนาดนี้อันนี้เพิ่งหล่นเห็นไหมไม่ดูนี้นะอีกก้อนนึงเดี๋ยวตรงนี้ไปก้อนนี้เนี่ยในก่อนหน้าเราได้ไม่กี่ชั่วโมงแล้วจะเป็นตอนเช้าอะไรนี่เนี่ยถ้าเป็นตอนกลางคืนเมื่อวานปุ๊บฝนตกปุ๊บมันลบกันที่นี่มีประมาณ5 ตัวที่เขาบอกฝั่งนี้
A wild tiger sighting is rare, but there's no time to worry about becoming its prey.
The rangers just heard a gunshot in the jungle coming from this direction on our left-hand side, so they've told us to be very careful as we move forward. We're in areas that they hadn't been to themselves.
Suddenly the rangers signal us to get down. They found their target. It's hard to see in the thick jungle, and heavy rain is starting to fall. The rangers quickly follow, but the path is steep and slippery. By the time they get to the hilltop, the man is nowhere in sight.
เมื่อกี้มีคนนึงที่ว่าน่าจะเป็นพวกเขมรที่ตัดไม้แหละมันลงมาจากฝั่งนี้ได้ยินเสียงผมได้ยินเสียงปุ๊บผมฟังซุ่มดูมันลงมาปุ๊บพอดีช่วงโค้งมันเห็นผมมันวิ่งกลับหลังไปเลย
A lucky escape this time. With the rain beating down, the rangers settle in for the night in one of the poachers' abandoned camps. As we sit around the fire, the rangers plan for tomorrow. But later that night, we find we're much closer to the poachers than we realize. We had a pretty close call last night when two men came across the river about 10 p.m. The rangers who were camped just behind me spotted them, called out a greeting. When that wasn't returned, they opened fire. The two men dropped their bags, fled into the jungle, returning fire as they went. Now the rangers think that these were two scouts for a logging team that are further down this path. They didn't manage to catch the men, although they gave chase, but they assume that the loggers will have dropped their rosewood and they're going to go and look for it today. But first, the rangers go through the packs the poachers abandoned. We find clothes, medicine, a rope, and a tightly sealed bag. Soaked in oil to keep the moisture out, 7.62 caliber rounds.
AK, look AK.
Meant for an AK-47 assault rifle. It's now a race against time. The rangers have to find the rosewood. The poachers may have fled in the night, but they'll be back, and there's now no doubt that they're armed. It doesn't take long to find the spent cartridges that were fired at us the night before. And then nearby, hastily hidden under twigs and leaves, the rangers find the rosewood. Its deep red colour shining out. They uncover more. These are thick, perfectly sawn planks from the loggers' base camp. More than a metre in length, worth between $6,000 and $10,000 each. The rangers have just found $100,000 worth of timber. But we're deep inside the jungle. There's no way to carry this timber out. Instead, they must destroy it. It seems a terrible waste that these trunks of beautifully aged timber, hundreds of years old, should just go up in smoke. But if not destroyed, who knows where it might end up, as part of the destructive and violent rosewood trade. For the rangers, it's a bittersweet moment.
We all came back safe, but we didn't manage to arrest the poachers.
Who are these poachers? The enemy we've been hunting, hiding out of sight in the forest. But the trail has now gone cold for the rangers. So we've come to Cambodia to track down the desperate men who risk their lives for this timber. After negotiating through a contact for several days, we're driven deep into the countryside. In a small village near the Thai border, we meet two men, ringleaders of a Cambodian logging gang. They speak on condition of anonymity, but show us the tools of their trade, the logging cart with reinforced wheels, just like the one we found in the jungle. The chainsaws and other machinery are kept hidden in Thailand. Our encounters in the jungle suggest they're also heavily armed. Would you kill for rosewood?
We just go there looking for rosewood, not to hurt anybody. There are other groups hired by soldiers. They have guns, they have bombs. But for local people like us, we don't have anything more than knives.
Are you saying that there are some groups that are hired by the Cambodian army to go in and log?
Yes, yes. They usually go in groups of about 30. Depending on how much wood they have, they'll either take it further into Thailand or bring it back to Cambodia.
These accusations have been made before, but questioning the military is dangerous. In the past 2 years, 4 journalists have been murdered trying to investigate links between the Cambodian military and illegal logging. Our requests for an interview go unanswered. Along the Thai-Cambodia border, every couple of kilometers is a checkpoint. There appears to be little chance that loggers could move through here without the knowledge and complicity of the Cambodian army. It's quite easy to see the trails the loggers are using to get across into Thailand. There are lots of places where the jungle breaks where they're going through. In a couple of these places I've even seen logs, but we can't stop. There are military patrols going along this road every couple of minutes. Meanwhile, the trade is taking a terrible toll, with more and more Cambodians losing their lives. In 2012 alone, the Thai army admits it shot dead 45 Cambodian poachers. The unofficial number is double that. In March, 12 people were killed in one day alone. These women know the real cost of rosewood. Khoi San and Kien Tat both have sons serving 14-year jail sentences in Thailand after being caught poaching. For Chit Sarom, the cost was even higher. Her husband was killed in the same bust.
A group of his friends who managed to escape from the Thais came to tell me he had been shot to death.
Her husband, Kong Chandi, died on the 17th of December 2012. She has photos of their wedding, her husband at Angkor Wat in his military uniform, pictures with their children, but that's all. She was never able to bury his body.
We tried to go there, but we heard there were a lot of Thai soldiers along the border, so we were afraid to go inside. I feel so sorry for my husband that we weren't able to perform the Khmer funeral ritual.
All 3 women are now struggling to make ends meet on their own. This is a village where the children have no fathers, the mothers no sons. But many are still prepared to take the risk. Laws punishing smugglers and poachers are weak. Governments across Southeast Asia and China allow rosewood to be imported with dubious or faked documents. But some are working to tackle the trade. Tim Redford from the Freeland Foundation works with governments across Asia to try and shut down rosewood smugglers and the criminal networks that support them.
Over the last 5 years, this rosewood smuggling problem has just got totally out of hand. It's seeping into all aspects of society, that it's corrupting communities, villages, law enforcement agencies, but it's just such big business. It's everywhere across the region, across Thailand, Cambodia, Laos to Vietnam and up to China. People are willing to take risks, the same as the narcotics trade. The value of it these days is almost on par with illegal drugs.
And Redford says, with demand for rosewood only growing, it's an uphill battle to save the species without government support.
The bottom line is, until consumers in China and other countries realise that the wood they're buying is costing people their lives, nothing's going to change.
In China, though, the message is not getting through. A new generation has seen their incomes balloon in the past decade. For these buyers, a piece of rosewood furniture fashioned into an antique Chinese design is the ultimate display of success.
The mainland Chinese, the economy has been growing and they get richer and richer. They want to buy this heritage back. So the demand just blow up like in overnight.
Andy Hay's family have been furniture dealers for several generations. At his showroom in Hong Kong, he serves a very select clientele.
It's not only something that people want to use, it's a reflection of the Chinese culture since 1,000 years ago.
About 8 years ago, he noticed the market beginning to boom in China. He says many of today's buyers just want the raw materials to trade. This large plank of Thai rosewood, preserved since his father's era, is worth several $100,000. For that kind of money, many buyers today don't question the source of the wood.
For the people who are involved in the business, it's very difficult to resist the temptation from the profit, especially the quick profit when they just selling the timber themselves.
For collectors, it's almost impossible to get rosewood these days. Here in Shenzhen, in southern China, Yu Caihua is constantly searching for new sources of the timber, but he says he rarely finds pieces large enough to make furniture.
There's less and less rosewood in the mountains. There's hardly any left. What can be made into furniture? There's almost nothing.
But the Chinese market has adapted. Mr. Yu now collects rosewood beads, a new fashion accessory popular with celebrities. They can cost tens of thousands of dollars, but he admits the trade in China must be controlled.
Rosewood furniture is in very high demand in China. This certainly affects the supply of the timber. Authorities are trying to determine how to balance the demand and the protection of the wood.
But everything, it seems, is available for a price. In this showroom, we find pieces of distinct red rosewood, which command unbelievable sums. $900,000 for a huge cabinet, $3 million for a daybed with intricately carved screens and inlay. But what of the rosewood tree itself? Cambodia has all but destroyed its rosewood forests. Once lush jungle has been replaced by barren swamps, dotted with rotting stumps. How close is Thailand to that fate? We take an aerial tour with the chief of the National Park Service to find out. As we sweep over the jungle canopy, the pilot spots one of the few remaining clumps of rosewood trees. We find a clearing where we land, and the chief gives a depressing forecast.
If logging continues at this rate, the rosewood will be extinct in 3 to 4 years.
Up close, we see only one healthy rosewood tree. It's about 50 years old, still young. Hidden close to a ranger station, its location deliberately concealed. This tree has a better chance of enduring than most. But if the rosewood poachers aren't stopped, it could soon be the sole survivor from this cutthroat trade. A trade that's now stained in blood.
nanga wampinga nomo brabu no kanya edu anu orele gismo nyame nanga pinga yusa ondro pemi kudru manasari kudru